Welcome, everyone, to Two Guys in Hockey Talk, your Christmas edition. I am Pawel the Cat with my very joyful and joyous and ho holiday special, Evan Renaerts. Evan, how you doing?
Hey, doing great, man. Doing great. All ready with the Christmas cheer. I'm ready to lay out the bevy. You got one?
I do. I've had a busy doozy week. And I feel great. And we have a very joyous, for most clubs, we'll get into it later, episode. But we've got some very bah humbug things to talk about. Go ahead.
All right. Hey, man. So first of all, let's just update you guys right now when it comes to following us. I know some of you are just jumping on. You can follow us every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, right here. What do? We follow hockey as you read. Hockey. You can follow us on Facebook. Help us we're almost at 1,000 followers. If you're listening, help us. If you're not following right now, do that and jump on. You'll get notifications. All of our podcasts, all of our information comes right to you. Also, we're on YouTube. So we're close to 100 subscribers. That has not been our main area. So this year we jumped on and started adding those subscribers now. We're ready to build that content. We are covering, if you're not familiar, we cover Europe. So whether it's the Liga, the SHL now, the DEL, the KHL, if we're talking the MHL, the VHL, in all of those areas we cover over in Europe. In fact, we had Perry Pern on, for those that know him from Western Canada and also from Ottawa. A lot of Ottawa fans. Over 8 years as assistant head coach. He's coaching in China right now, getting them ready for Olympics. So there's a lot of stuff. He's been in Japan. So we're all over the place. Plus we cover, you guys talk about the BCHL. You talk about the CHL. That's 3 leagues. We talk about the NHL, the VI. Oh, man, we talk about anything that's hockey, Pawel.
Indeed. We do our best to cover as much as we can. I got to be honest.
Give Pawel a break when he doesn't know a name or he doesn't remember a fact.
It's fine. I take it. If somebody can rip me, do it up. I deserve it. I need to do better. You got to understand that I'm watching these highlights all throughout the day, reading all this stuff, and I'm being told by none other than some people who tune in, as well as friends of the show who say, "Listen, Pawel, what are you saying? You're crazy." And that's right. I get ripped for it, and I'm okay with it.
One of our long-time early followers, Jordan Robert, he always is after me with my picks. So he's just like, he thinks that Rev is basically he's out of his mind when I'm picking, because he likes the WHL boys. So as well as, hey, welcome to Lost Trucker out there. Hey, good to see you out there. Ray, if you're getting this late, a lot of our longtime listeners. And can I just throw a special? I want to say a thank you this Christmas. If he catches the show, I'm going to send a link out. So if you're not watching live, you'll see this later. To Brent Huska. So Brent Huska, guys. So his cousin actually is coaching over in Calgary. But Brent Huska started up in I'm out of the Edmonton area, so is Pawel. And he started up what's called Oilers Jambalaya. So we had done a lot of stuff on the message boards with HF boards years ago, and he watched a lot of my writing. I had done a lot of previous stuff, but Brent watched, saw that I had something, and he took a chance on this guy, and it just led into more going through with Puck Rant later on, working with Fox Sports, etc. And so I appreciate the start into that part of the hockey world and the connections to guys like Eric Rogers and a whole bunch of others. So, Brent, thank you, man. You've been a great mentor to get into the hockey world of writing and talking and communication. So.
Nope, and it's crazy, but we're going to get into it because we have a lot to cover. And Jordan says, nope, only whenever he talks prospects. So there you go. This is what we're trying to say, Jordan, is that we're trying to get you a job as a pro scout for a good team. And we're just pushing the narrative that you know what's going on, right? Better than Evan does. Because Evan's not leaving this job. But we got a lot to get to.
We'll contact the Saskatoon Blades and let them know there's a free scout in Edmonton to watch all their games.
Yeah.
We'll contact Dan for you, and we'll get you some work there, Jordan. More free work. Don't you love that?
Now, we're going to get into the most latest news, and we've got a lot to cover. But the first thing that we want to talk about is the trade, Evan. And we talked about the New York Rangers last week and some of their the turbulence. Now, it was I want to repeat this before or make note of this before we get into the Kaapo Kakko trade to Seattle for Will Borgen and a 3rd and a 6th round pick. And I want your thoughts on that. But first, Steve Dangle was reporting on his show that there's been some internal meetings amongst the players, and they are furious with GM Chris Drury. They are not happy with how not only did he treat Jacob Trouba and just that whole situation, but Barclay Goodrow, amongst some other things that have been kind of happening. And so I wanted to get your thoughts not only on what do the Rangers do moving forward, because we did touch on it last week, and you guys can go back and watch that episode on YouTube or Facebook, but what do you think this means now with the trade of Kaapo Kakko, who clearly has been not a good fit in the Rangers organization and has really been slow to develop to that 2nd round pick that he was in 2019?
You know, if I'm a Rangers fan, I must have so much disappointment. I was already frustrated with Kaapo, but seeing even what they got in return, like Morgan's a good, dependable defenseman. That's great, picking him up. But getting a 3rd round pick and a 6th round pick, when they got Kakko, they won the lottery to even get that pick that year, and they thought that this was a big sell. This almost feels like a Jesse Puljujarvi kind of situation. It just did not work out. But Pavel, he's a good player. He knows how to play the game. He hasn't had a lot of injuries with this. And you gotta wonder, can the team sitting over there in Seattle, are they ready to make a breakthrough here with this Kakko signing? Are we around?
Sorry, I mean, we're giving yourself some cap flexibility. You've really made that clear that you want to do that. Now you can do some work. Clearly, it wasn't a good fit. And when people talk about, bust, I don't want to say he busts. He's 23. He still has an opportunity. He's played 330 games in the NHL, and that's no easy feat, right? Like, he has been able to produce. But you expect him to take that step like Alex Lafreniere has done, that Keandre Miller has done, right? And he's really struggled. He's got 61 goals and 70 assists. So that's what Seattle needs, right? What's the hardest thing to do in the NHL, Evan? It's to score. So you want to be able to get someone who can score. And Seattle's the kind of team that scores by committee, and he can definitely have a second chance. And a lot of players do succeed in other places that they go on to. Maybe there won't be as much pressure on him in that market. But what I think it is that I think that this could be the last go of it by Chris Drury this season, because if they don't do well, and it's almost a cup or bust situation, because even if they go to the Final Four, Evan, that may not be seen as a successful season for the Rangers. They're looking for that Stanley Cup. They've been to Final Four a few times, but this group, there needs to be a shakeup, and I get it, but sometimes the shakeup doesn't always do well. And you look at someone like Tampa Bay, who, kept sticking to the course after 2015, after losing, and back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, they did it. So I'm sure the Rangers are looking at that and saying, hey, what are we doing? That being said, you're falling behind where other teams like Pittsburgh, your Pittsburgh Penguins, are catching up. Ottawa Senators are making a push. Detroit's struggling. Buffalo, we'll get into them later. But all these teams are trying to make a push. Boston, in the heat of it. The Rangers got to be careful, because really that last wild card spot, or even 3rd place, it's going to be tough. We know that New Jersey and Carolina are fighting it out, duking it out for that 1st place in the Metro. But Philly surpassed you, I think, last time I checked. It could have changed. And so what do you do then?
What are they going to do? We've said this for a while about Chris Drury and about, everyone that we talk to around the Rangers. Like, I still think they get at least a wild card spot, even if they struggle this year. They're just too good of a team. They got too good of a goalie, some great defense. They got great stars up front still, regardless. They're not really – I still think Kreider's gone. I really do. I think because of his age, and if they're going to make some moves and you're not going to be in the top 2, maybe this is the time, if you can get what's right, maybe come closer to the trade deadline with the team that really feels that he'll be able to put them over the edge. So one of the things that I was looking at is how they always want veterans. This is what I think. I think, number one, you have a general. Now, he's done something good because this general manager, whether you like or don't like Drury, he unloaded Trouba for nothing.
That's true. And got a player in return. You got a player in return.
And who knows? Maybe Morgan does turn in. Gordon's a good player still. Yep. Maybe he turns out to be better than Kakko. Plus, he got draft picks, which he'll turn over with maybe Kreider or someone else that they move out. Who knows what maybe they do a move with Andre Miller and bring in another player that they feel is more of a stay-at-home defenseman or more of a stand-up but what I really wonder, and I've wondered this for a while, Pawel, is coaching. I'm really worried about the coaching there. And this is like a make it or break it. So if they start falling out, I think the coach is gone. However, if they don't fall out and they're still working in that, I think they're going to have to go somewhere in the playoffs or the coach is gone. So he's not going to have a lot of rope to be able to work with here. But what I think is crazy, how many coaches do you go through? How long do you stay as a general manager of the New York Rangers? Drury has a lot of pull because of his playing days there and the love for him.
Well, he has decided to be part of the video.
Actually, grab your cat for a second. Folks, this is very important. We don't get to see this often. Here's Pawel the Cat. He's not known as the Cat. I didn't name him that because he has Felix the Pot Bank goalie reflexes. It's because he has cats everywhere. He is known as the Cat Man. So anyway.
He has decided to join the show. So for all you who don't like cats, well, I am sorry. He's going to be in the video and he's going to continue to watch. But
hopefully he's not bad luck. But hey, just a heads up. By the way, thanks, Lost Trucker. There we go. Shane Wright. Can I talk about this right now?
You sure can. Let's get into Seattle a little bit.
Well, we talked about the trade there. So let's just talk about our impression. There's three people I'd like to talk about in Seattle. Sure. I want to talk about Kakko a little bit and what could this potentially mean for him. It's going to be a fresh start. And then I want to talk about Shane Wright, and then I want to talk about Renaerts. Okay? So let's talk about and give your thoughts here, because I wonder when we look at someone like specifically someone like Kakko, when we're actually trying to look and see what kind of player is this guy, right? Because that's really what we were trying to figure out. What kind of player are we actually dealing with here? And in Kakko, he reads the game really well. He has very high IQ at seeing the ice and knowing he's out there. But he does, like Draisaitl, can slow the game down, but he doesn't have those quick bursts. Could they potentially match him with someone like Renaerts? Possibly. I don't think they're going to change anything. So let me come to Renaerts before I get to Wright. So and then I'm going to let you give your thoughts here, man. Because with Renaerts, we're looking. They signed him long term. What's he making? I had written down somewhere. I don't have it right now. 7-something million per year. This is a total disappointment right now by the team, but not being able to actually have these numbers correct.
7.142 for $50 million.
Okay. Like that's a lot of money. And what's his points at this season? Like he is so far behind right now.
I will tell you in just a sec.
Yeah. Okay. You go ahead and get that while we're doing this right now.
He's got 4 goals and 13 assists in 33 games.
So how many points? He's got
17 points in 30 games.
So 34. We are talking about like 0.55. For a guy who won Rookie of the Year, everyone thought that was going to be his coming out, and it hasn't been his coming out party. So if you're actually looking at this, I'm actually worried because I see him dropping, but I see someone like Shane Wright actually improving, which is really good for the team because it gives them that time. But maybe it's going to take the right players. They've moved some players around. Renaerts is not playing with some of the same guys anymore. And
so according to Daily Faceoff, in the last game that they were playing versus Ottawa, and I don't know if that's tonight, he tentatively was paired. And of course, lines change, guys. You don't quote me or Evan on this. He was playing on the top line as a center with Jaden Schwartz on the left wing and Brandon Tannen on the left wing. So you know, decent players. Jason Schwartz getting a little older up there, but that's not someone that produces at an elite level, right? You need elite level
You might as
wingers.
well trade the guy if you're going to be placing him down there. And Belsma does this. This is one thing he did because he worked with, remember, he worked with a lot of players like Connor Sheary and stuff like that back in the day. He worked with Chris Kunitz. I mean, so he likes those diggers and stuff like that, but he put him with a guy like a Crosby. Beniers is not a Crosby. He's not a guy that can find ways to help others excel. He works off other good players. That's what he did when he was playing in the NCAA. And so I believe Kakko would be a really good. I'd put Capo with him. I would take that. I take advantage. Let's see if they get some chemistry. He clears up the ice. Then he passes it to a nice big fella that can clear room, go into the corners, hit, set him up, and stand in front of that net and get some more opportunities. I'm actually excited that this might be the breakthrough that Seattle actually needs.
No, I agree with you. I think he hasn't lived up to that contract, but it's the first year of this contract. He, he's getting into it. He's feeling it out. The team, I don't know what was expected of Seattle. I'd have to go back to see our picks, but kind of middle of the pack, wild card team potentially in the Pacific and in the West. I think they should be able to make the playoffs, but I think I said maybe they wouldn't, or just barely, just around that hover mark of 85 to 90, 92 points, right? That's kind of what I see Seattle. Because as I indicated earlier, it's the team is by committee. There's no superstars in that sense, and that's not to take away any of the players that play on that team. They're all elite athletes. It's just I look at someone like who's the standout star? Who's supposed to be your number one pick that really stands out? And so that's where I think you need to really, really hone in on it.
Schwartz seems to be the guy.
Yeah, I mean they have Brandon Montour, who the back end is supposed to be a little bit more effective, coming over from Florida and being that impactful guy and what he did in the playoffs last year. But you've got Larson back there, Alexiak, you've got some big names. But again, it's by committee, and that's what that team does, and they will grind you. They are a work hard team. Go ahead.
Let's just look at. I just want to take a look, and obviously with the big trade today, where we got our Kraken jerseys out, we're talking about the Kraken. It's time to get Kraken. Let's get some things moving around Seattle. There we go. There's my puns today. It's important to note that if you are looking at Shane Wright right now and saying, because his first 20 games, he only had 4 points. He was not doing well. He was doing well on the ice. He was in all the. But he just wasn't calculating on the actual scoreboard. He wasn't coming up, with those assists and goals. Now, his last 5, he's 5 for 5. In his last 10, he's got 9 points. So he has now hit a point a game in his last 10, so 1/3 of the season now that he's come upon. I actually can see him pulling this out, and I do see this by the end of the year. We could look at him with a 0.7, 0.8 potentially by the end of the year season. Pavel, if he can break out and really, because now he's got some solid line mates who dig and bid it, but he is so good. If you watch him on the ice, I challenge you. Take it, go slow, go back before the goal. See how even when he's backtracking at center, just take the time, watch through it. You'll love to watch Shane Wright out there. I am so excited. This is another late bloomer, kind of like Lafreniere. But this is, I believe, because of COVID.
100%. And maybe it's a fit and a feel, and people don't understand the importance of chemistry and building that chemistry with your line mates and building chemistry and knowing your role in that room. I want to get into something similar in Vancouver because it's happening right now. But
my wife tells me that all the time. My wife tells me that. Know your role.
But I think chemistry and knowing your place and knowing your role and not expecting too much of it. I look at somebody like Evan who played in Seattle, Justin Schultz, and of course it was at the end of the career, and he just retired. He was playing a few games in Switzerland, retired from the game, won 2 Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh, played in Edmonton, and when he played in Edmonton, I know he was a sought-out prospect, and you can comment on this, but they were asking him to play way too much and too fast and too quickly. They didn't let him ease into the role. And when you have GMs like Kevin Holland, like Steve Yzerman, who take their time, including what's it called? The GM in Seattle, Ron Francis. he likes to take his time, marinate that steak, and let it build up before you get that flavor. You get what you want. You don't want to rush the cooks, right? And so that's what I see with Shane Wright. And I think he's going to bring it. And I think he's going to have a solid career. And I think it was Marner who talked to him and made a comment about how there's nothing wrong with going fourth in the first round. You can still have an impactful career and really have a good NHL season. So I like that. Now, I do want to get to Vancouver because chemistry is something I talked about. And maybe you can quickly comment on this before we get to this. There's been a lot of rumblings about team JT Miller versus team Elias Pettersson. There seems to be a little bit of contention. Now, don't get me wrong. You can talk to any teammate in the future, and everyone's going to have an issue with somebody. But it's about winning, getting to the promised land of the Stanley Cup and being successful as a team. But it seems that there's been a lot of division. And it got to the point where Elliot Friedman reported that maybe Buffalo, which we'll get into later, was interested in trading, potentially, like a rumor mill of moving Bowen Byram and Dylan Cousins for potentially Elias Pettersson. Now, that would be blockbuster. A lot of Vancouver fans said, heck no. I'm saying it PG.
Yeah.
But what is going on in Vancouver with that dynamic? Rick Tocchet has called out his players. And so we are now in a position where Vancouver's kind of in the middle in the mix, but they've struggled at home mightily. They're really good on the road. JT Miller's back. Demko's back and playing very well. But somehow there's that behind the scenes going on. What do you make of that?
Actually, it's funny. Once in a while when Lost Trucker and I have connected up here, we've actually had, because she absolutely loves the Canucks. I know you may not say you absolutely love them, but I think you do. You talk a lot about them. But anyway, around the Canucks.
Family members who are Canuck fans, so I have to pay attention.
Yes. So, but with the Canucks is what she believes is that Tocchet does not like Pettersson, that he's just not the coach for him. And there's a disconnect going on is what, like even watching the games live and seeing the interaction on the side and I've spent time watching that. And I got to say, if you guys get a chance, watch the interactions. There's not a lot of communication. I could be reading into this. This is totally being hypothetical and just looking at potential reasons. But some coaches just don't have players they gel with. They have their superstar you sign no matter what in Quinn Hughes. You sign him for whatever he's worth. Just like Edmonton on the back end, they signed Nurse because they didn't know what else they had and they were not going to let him go. Now, Bouchard, they will sign him for whatever they can do because they can't let him go. It's going to be the same.
That's a topic of discussion in another episode.
Well, yeah. So now here's the interesting piece. The only problem is you have JT Miller. He's an older player. You don't have a lot of high-end superstars for points. But he kind of went missing last year. And my understanding, talking to some inside the Canucks organization, there's no injury. There's no injury. This is more about psyche, the psychology of the game. And so I'm not really sure what's really going on here. If it's me, I'm actually expecting the coach to deal with, and I would sit him down and I'd say, listen, you got to find a way to get this guy going. And if it means giving him more time and changing some of the players around, if Miller's doing really well, and if there is something internal, get involved. You better get involved. This is not letting the boys figure it out anymore. They got to change that culture, right? So that's what I think needs to happen. But I'll tell you, I would like to see someone like Quinn Hughes actually step up and get involved on this.
That's fair. Now, the Vancouver Canucks had a great game against the Florida Panthers, really spanked that team. And then, of course, things happen. But then the Boston Bruins come in and spank the Vancouver Canucks. I watched that game. It was wild. It was insane. I didn't like the way Vancouver played. But let's talk about the Boston Bruins because Kyle's tuning in. Hey, Kyle, appreciate you joining in. Kyle, great member of Integrity Sports, does his own podcast on all things sports. That man is an encyclopedia of knowledge, Evan. That's what I'm just going to say, right?
What do you do,
if
Kyle?
You need to know anything about the NBA, NFL, Kyle is your man. Yeah.
Kyle, are you sitting?
I don't need Wikipedia. I need Kyle.
Yeah. Well, I think we should make. Hey, let's make an app, and we'll call it the Kyle app, and we'll have all the information downloaded so we can take this. So Kyle, man, yeah, guys, go over and check him out over on Integrity Sports. Check out his podcast. What do you want to talk about?
He does great work. Now, Grant Cummings, great writer. What?
I was going to say, and hey, Kyle can probably even talk to you about swimming. He probably knows all the greatest swimmers out there.
Yes. Now, Grant Cummings writes for us about Boston. You guys can go to our website at twoguysinhockeydoc.com. We got all the latest blogs, always something happening, our articles on all things hockey-based, anything, NHL, AHL, whatever you want. We got it covered. Our former guests are all up there. We tried to promote them. You can go check out those previous episodes. But you wanted to talk about the Boston Bruins. They're kind of an up-and-down team this year. A lot of chaos, a lot of noise. Yeah. What are we making of them? What did you want to focus on?
Yeah, so a couple things. First thing, the coaching change. They're 9-4 since. It didn't start off really well. I'm not a pro Sacco fan. He never had proven it. But you know what? The team was underplaying. It's just like you can bring someone else in. Sometimes it just needs a change, and it shakes the players. Everyone will tell you that. So, okay, so they're moving. But also Swayman, his game is not lots, not tons. He's still just sub 900. But, you know, I really believe we're not going to be hitting in on the Senators tonight, but Allmark is really picking it up. He's been like around a 954 lately. He's been playing.
They've been red hot in the last little bit, 4 games in a row.
And actually, Frank, I'll give a shout out to the person that got me thinking, because I've been contemplating around this and I didn't have the numbers. Go check out the Daily Face-Off with Sorelli and your M.
Saravelli.
Didn't I say Saravelli?
You said Sorelli.
Sorelli. Oh, yeah.
You're talking about the Tampa Bay Center?
Yeah. Sorelli, who should not be on Team Canada, but that's another thing. But anyway, so on the show, they actually talked about, he actually thinks that maybe they're missing each other. And so it takes a while to acclimatize. And it got me thinking that it is true that, are you cutting out or am I cutting out?
Yeah, we both cut out for a second on my end.
Well,
sorry.
I was going and you were freezing. I don't know. Maybe it's me. We'll know when we check back later. Okay, guys. So anyway, one of the things that I actually see, if they're 9-4 and Swayman is just playing at 900, just a little below, wait till Swayman hits. These guys are in a good spot. They're only 2 to 4 points out of the top end spot. So right now, I think that you're looking at a real push for the Bruins. They're not great, but they're a good team, and they'll be, if they can make a few moves and see a couple, they're even like Lindholm, if he can pick it up, Zadorov can just play average without making a lot of mistakes. Come playoff, that's when they'll make a difference.
But Evan, is it cup or bust, or is it make the playoffs? Because I understand revenue is one thing, but are you trying to compete for a Stanley Cup? Because Marchand needs a new deal, and he's a little bit on the older side, like they just signed Zadorov and Lindholm. We just talked about this. Grant really knows that team in and out. So you guys go follow him and the real G Rant on Twitter. He really, really nails it down. But like, what did the Bruins do? I mean, they won in Calgary in overtime in convincing fashion. But can they compete for a Stanley Cup, or is this just a team that's going to go 1 or 2 rounds, maybe 3, but that's it? Like, do you really see them going far in the playoffs?
I actually, if they can pick the right team, hit in that first round, get their players going, they're big, they're tough. They have a few key clutch guys. This is one of those things. I think they're built that if they get in the playoffs, anything's possible. They can pull it over. And what if Swayman's now on a roll? So yeah, I think at the end, let's see what the playoffs hold in store. That's going to be the determining factor. If they're going to have to make a wholesale change, or what's going to happen moving forward. I can't see them not signing Marchand, though, man. He just seems like a Crosby lifer.
Okay. Well, before we get into the rant, and I know you have a great rant set up for us, I did want to just mention a cool story in the NHL. The Winnipeg Jets have signed Kevin He to his entry-level deal contract. Now, he is the first Chinese-born player to sign an NHL contract. So props to him, because it's incredible. I think he came over when he was younger to Canada. He played for the North York Rangers, U16 AAA, and the Niagara Ice Dogs for quite a bit in the OHL. In his last season of the OHL last year, he played 29 games and had 23 goals and 20 assists for 43 points. Prior to that, it was 64 games, 31 goals, 22 points. That's pretty impressive. Good for him. It's exciting and good for the Winnipeg Jets, who are they've dropped down from their elite start, but are still competitive and really trying to compete for that top in the Central. Any thoughts on Kevin He and what he'll potentially bring for that team, for the Winnipeg?
Gotta be honest, you just stumped me. I didn't even know about it, and I don't even know the guy, so I can't answer. You got me You did this on purpose. You did this on purpose.
I did. So, to give you an easy one, to give you a softball, as they say in baseball, Swayman at his best will give them a chance. So Swayman needs to be playing unreal like he did last year, like the reason he got that contract in order to be impactful for the Bruins to go on a deep run. But we're going to get into the rant of the night.
Puckpedia brings you
Rant of the Night.
Calling all hockey fans, stay on top of your game with Puckpedia. It's the ultimate source for NHL salary cap information.
So I don't know how many people have, maybe you're this fan. Maybe you're that guy, you're that woman that is beating down the Utah HC fans because there was someone that started on X and moved over to Facebook groups and other groups. They got onto Instagram. In fact, there's some that are over on TikTok, I was told. It started with this, and now it's been elaborated. And people, hockey fans that call themselves diehards, are angry, and they're telling these people that you can tell that they're from a nothing place, and it's because they're complaining about fighting in the game. They should go back to the NBA. Listen. Do you want to grow your game, or do you want to be that chump that sits there with your 4 teams and never grows? Like, you guys need to grow up, and you need to grow a pair and actually act a little more mature and grown up so that fans want to be a part of the game. Like, listen, you're the same ones that complain about Vegas saying, oh, they shouldn't have all this acting out there because they're, entertaining. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been to some games, and they talk about Edmonton as the best fans in the world, and even during playoffs. Buddy, it's downer moments. If the team's not winning, they're blah. There's this, like we complained about, you guys complaining about doing a wave just because you're losing. You can't do it. Come on, change it up. Pavel, am I wrong or am I wrong?
Well, I agree with you. I think fighting is exciting. It gets people going, riled up. Fans will be fans. I mean, they pay their ticket. They watch the team that they're following and supporting. They're in there getting involved. They're looking up stats, highlights. They're calling in radio show. They're tuning into this show because they know that this is the best, if not the best podcast about hockey. I'm just throwing out there. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. No, but people get excited, and I think fans always, what's the old adage where it's like, I did nothing wrong. It's everything is on the other side. They're the egregious ones. They're the ones that did the wrong. Our team is perfect. We've never made a mistake. It's like, and even if we did, it's like, well, but really, did you need to call that? Are there questionable calls in the game versus San Jose versus Utah? For sure. But you got to understand that your team is rebuilding, but you do what you can, and even Utah, like they're trying. They're an exciting fan base, but they really, I mean, it takes a while to completely understand the game. And I got to be honest, Evan, even after several years of watching, I myself don't know the game. So this is why Jordan corrects me and you correct me. So I clearly sometimes know nothing about the game of hockey when I watch.
So what you're saying is these guys need to be more patient with people.
Yeah.
Just
enjoy the game, because really at the end of the day, it's fun. It's exciting. It gets banter going. I understand it's not everyone's going to agree on the call, and there's some interesting things. But yeah, it's wild. Hey, Ray, great to hear from you. But yeah, that's just my thought. It is what it is. And this is Rant of the Night.
Yeah.
Puckpedia brings you
Rant of the Night.
Calling all hockey fans, stay on top of your game with Puckpedia. It's the ultimate source for NHL salary cap information.
Now, I know I cut you off there, but go ahead. What did you want to say?
Fine.
No.
Ray,
Sure.
how you doing, man? Ray, are you excited? Are you happy about Markstrom over there in Jersey? What's your thoughts? Man, tell me, what are you thinking about old Jack Hughes over there, man? Any thoughts? I'd like to hear if you think he's having a good season or not. So, guys, Ray has been a longtime follower for the last couple seasons. He's over in Jersey.
He's asking if you're jumping on the Kraken bandwagon now.
Okay,
that what's happening?
So Ray, I got to work with you here, buddy. We are a hockey talk show. People do this. They come on, we bring guests, and they're like, hang on, you're a Chicago Blackhawks fan because we got Chicago Blackhawks. So we all have our favorite teams we like to watch, or more so than others, but we definitely follow all things hockey. And tonight, earlier on, we were talking around the Kraken with the trade today with Capo, and then around Shane Wright and Veneer's contract. So anyway, dude, hey, I'll wear a jersey one next time just for you if I know you're coming.
Beautiful. And we will be off for the Christmas holiday season. We'll be back in the New Year's, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now, Evan, we talked about some of the joys in the NHL. Let's talk about some coals in people's stockings, specifically the Buffalo Sabres. But before we get to the Buffalo Sabres, I wanted to announce, because it just got announced.
You give me a
what's it called? There was a trade in the NHL. It just happened, a small one. The Montreal Canadiens have traded with the Nashville Predators. Now, let me just quickly get the information here because I want to make sure I get the right thing. So, the Habs acquire Alexandre Carrier from the Preds for Justin Barron. Any quick initial thoughts?
Oh, boy, that just occurred. That much. You were talking, this just came down while we're on the air then.
Just came down, yeah.
Wow. By the way, before I answer that, guys.
And the Christmas freeze-off date is tomorrow, or tonight, I guess, wherever
just
you want.
Heads up, if you want to follow all things, for those that follow Cap Friendly, sometimes you follow Elite Prospects, go to Puckpedia. You'll get all the trades, all the signings, transactions, injuries, you name it. Plus, you can play Puck TM and find out salary caps, do drafts, check out agents, who's got the most, and so forth. So, so I got to talk to Hart here. I do not see it updated here, Hart. So what's going on here? I don't see the trade today.
Alexandre Carrier for Justin Barron.
Carrier for Barron. That's an interesting trade, eh? It's okay. So, wow. I don't know. I'm kind of. It's a small move. It's not a big move. I'm kind of interested on the timeline. Why?
I wonder if Justin Barron's coming over as a defensive depth piece to let Lane Hudson go down, to the minors back again, to the Laval Rockets play.
I'm just wondering, did Barron not once upon a time actually play for the Canadians?
Yes, he did. He got traded over there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. They obviously knew him, right?
Yeah, they liked him and they wanted him back. So he, he was a first-round pick in number 25 by the Colorado Avalanche. Played for Montreal, went to Laval, played in Montreal, and then I guess, or he's the one that got traded. So,
sorry. Okay, yes.
He's the one that he's the one that got moved for Nashville.
Okay, yeah, he's kind of a role player. He's a depth defenseman that comes up. Right? 48 games is the most that he's had in a year. Yeah.
No.
So, well, that's as interesting. Yeah. So it looks like they're trying to shore up and kind of get a little bit more push. I don't know why.
Well, I think Nashville's kind of in a like, let's reassess in the new year because they're struggling, and I'm surprised their coaching didn't get fired.
They're going down with the ship.
Yeah. Good for Barry Trotz for making bold moves, but I don't think it's paid off. And it's interesting. Now, Ray has answered your question. He has said Markstrom has been incredible this season. Okay. They massively needed an upgrade at goalie, which is what Ray said last season. I remember him specifically indicating. Has been everything he has asked for. As for Jack Hughes, what can I say? The kid is incredible. Watching him play is worth the price of admission. Plus, he's only making $8 million. That's a pretty good steal of a deal. So there's your answer for that. Now.
Hey, they're number 2 right now in the league, right? I know they got a couple of games extra, but they're only behind Winnipeg by 2 points with one more game played. They're ahead of Washington by 1 point, and they got 3 games played. And Minnesota, they're right in the top 4 or 5 right now. So good on them. Good on them, man. Great job.
Now, before we got to everything that just happened, the Buffalo Sabres, bah humbug. 11 losses in a row, some in OT. They've really struggled. What do you make of this season with Terry Pagula having to come in? The owner, Evan, this isn't a rant, had to come in and had a conversation and said, no one's being traded. We're sticking the course. We believe in you. Allegedly, this is what's been reported. We believe in this group, but they've had a few games. I watched the one versus Toronto. They had the lead. It broke down. They had a 4-0 lead versus Colorado. They dropped it and lost 5-4. What do you make of the Buffalo Sabres and potentially missing the playoffs for another year and everything that is going on there? What do you do? Is it on Kevin Adams? Is it on Lindy Ruff, who was just brought in? Is it on the young core? You have Alex Tuck. You have Dylan Cousins. You brought in some younger veterans to play and compete. You have a Ryan McLeod who can play in that bottom, but he was playing in their fourth line. Like Devin Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, one of the best names in hockey. Is it goaltending? Is it defense? You have Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power. What do you make of the Buffalo Sabres?
They're deep. And, I mean, we're looking at them right now. They're like 2 points ahead of Chicago and Nashville, same amount of games in last place, essentially. Right now, they're draft lottery, man. They can win this year's lottery, and if they don't, right now the top 4 is pretty much sealed. I just see San Jose a much better team. I can't see, maybe Montreal drops down, but Montreal got lining out. So they're going to be picking up a little bit. I think that's why they just made their trade and kind of stabilize a little bit more. I think you're looking at Anaheim, Buffalo, Chicago, and Nashville for the rest of the year. I can't see anybody else dropping. And so they're I know they're saying that they don't want just pieces, or they got to do something. It's for the fan base because they're losing fans. They're not getting the renewals that they've needed last couple of years. And so I like the idea. I could see them wanting Pettersson, a high goal, like what you were saying, Bowen Byron was the rumor.
And Dylan Cousins.
Dylan Cousins. If I'm getting rid of Pettersson, though, I also want a draft pick. Give me a second-round draft pick with that, too. And I'll send you a fourth-round draft pick. And then we'll talk. Because you are getting a 100-point scorer, right? Like, guaranteed. He's better. Right now, Pettersson is at a better place than Eichel ever was when he was there originally back in the day.
Well, and when you – go ahead.
Yeah, you get him on the power play and you get him going out there with guys like Tage Thompson. I think they play more in that kind of structure of game. But I also said I'm not a Kevin Adams GM fan. They got Ruff back. Ruff is not doing the job. There's a reason that he's not. Hey, what's Ray think of Ruff? Does he think that Ruff is the reason? I know I do. I think that's part of it. I
don't think it's Ruff. I think it's the team. And Ray does ask, who is a bigger mess right now, the Sabres or the Rangers? And I say the Sabres.
Buffalo, man. Buffalo is just messed up right now.
It leaves them out. Because here's the thing. The Rangers have been in the playoffs. They've gotten to the Final Four. Say what you want. That team is playoff ready. They have Igor Shesterkin. They have some excellent talent. They have Panarin, who's having a really solid season. Sometimes he can work on his defensive game, but still having a heck of a season. You have Lafreniere. You have Keandre Mila. You have some really good talent. Although Ryan Lindgren has struggled in the last little bit, he is still a beast on the ice. Yeah, he reminds me a lot of Ryan McDonough. Like, he will play no matter what, block any shot, put his body on the line. The Buffalo Sabres, what is their identity? We talk about this. Edmonton had this crisis for a long time. What is your identity? Are you a hard-playing team? Are you a team-based team like Seattle, like we talked earlier? Do you have that identity? It's work-based. No one's a superstar. We all contribute and pitch in. Or are you like an Edmonton and Toronto where you have the superstars and then you have your secondary cast who come in and support that main cast?
You know what
is your identity? Go ahead.
I think Edmonton needs to be one of the teams, and I think Toronto needs to be one of the teams looking what there is. I think both of those. I know Toronto and Buffalo are almost impossible to trade, like Calgary, Edmonton, but and another person that I could see looking at this is Minnesota. I know they're on a roll. I know they want to be careful about changing. Minnesota would be a great landing point for Byron, but I see Dylan Cousins fitting a team like the Oilers because he can now be complementary. If you watched him back in the day, back in juniors, and when he first started entering in,
Great World Juniors, yeah.
It's just he's not fitting. They're going to have to move him out. They're going to get a dime on the dollar. Byron is great there. I think he's a good fit, but you're not getting rid of Power and you're not getting rid of Darlene. They're too big of guys with good potential. I think Power hasn't lived up to that first round yet. He started with the first year, but they know what he is now. And he's kind of making some of those mental errors, right, in the game. I do find it interesting because I do find with defensemen that come out of NCAA, they don't have that same consistency when they start playing full seasons and get into 2 or 3 because they've never played that many games in their life, right? And they can usually come from like junior A and then go into.
But it's a mental game for Buffalo because when I watch them play for the few games that I've watched this season, after like they're up often in a lot of those games, 6 or 7 games, they were outscoring their opponents, so they could score. Tage Thompson is scoring. I mean, I know he was left off.
Yeah, he's doing
off the Four Nations tournament, but he can still put the puck in the net. And you've got guys who can put the puck in the net. It's keeping it out of your net. And last year they were only a few points away outside the playoffs. But I mean, you've lost so many good players who have gone on to have successful careers, which I'm sure Buffalo Sabre fans do not want to see. You're seeing Sam Reinhart lift the Stanley Cup. You're seeing Brandon Montour lift the Stanley Cup. You're seeing Jack Eichel lift the Stanley Cup. After that, kind of, I understand questionable surgery, the neck surgery, and it worked out, but it paid off in the end. And who knows what the team could be right now. And attendance has been pretty steady. Granted, the Bills are very good, so that draws a lot of Buffalo fan attention. But I think they have to work through this, but I still think there's something there. And let's be honest, Evan, I get that it's December, but you could still push your way out of it. You just need a few games. You look at Ottawa. They won 4 games in a row, and they're back in a wild card spot. They pulled themselves out of it after kind of a murky late October, early November. And so I see Buffalo. I think there's big changes coming if they do fall out of a playoff spot, especially by March. And I think that there's going to be bigger discussions for that.
I was looking. They're going to have to play 680 hockey to get into a wild card.
Yeah, well, then something's got to change because maybe it is the coach. I know you just brought Lindy Ruff in, but either way, you guys can let us know your thoughts about Buffalo.
I'm Terry, man. Kevin's done the end of the season. I got to go somewhere else. I don't think they should have went with him. And the coach, the coach I'm bringing in, I don't think it's happening. I haven't heard anything around this. Because he is really good at working with younger people, and he's very much a strategist. And he's very calming, very friendly. That's what helped the Oilers a lot when he stepped in after Tippett. Tippett was kind of a driver. Ruff is a bit of a yeller and a driver too, with the little old school, right? I think Ruff is a great coach, but he's not a tactical coach. And I think in today's game, you're working with different folks. But I don't see Woodcroft landing there, by the way. There's a place I'm going to be sharing in the new year where I think what's going to happen. Just so you know, I don't see Woodcroft unless something surges by someone letting someone go. I think he's going to land on his feet in the off season with another team.
Now,
we better get into the Revs around the rink here. Otherwise,
I was about to get into the round ring, but I just want to make one note of something just was popped up. So I know that there was a recent post by Robin Leonard, the former goalie of the Vegas Golden Knights. He indicated afterwards that it wasn't true. You guys can go online on Twitter/X and read it. That's up to you. We just here at Two Guys want to wish Robin Leonard the best. Mental health is a very heavy thing. It is difficult. I can't imagine the struggles that he's going through and everything. And we wish him all the best. We want to see him healthy and happy and successful, if not in the NHL, just in his personal life and beyond, because that's the first and foremost and most important thing. And I think that it's never easy, especially when you've dealt with concussions or any kind of injury. It can really have a negative impact on you. And just any quick thoughts before we get to Around the Rink, Evan?
Yeah, I really feel for this. I kind of felt this was going to be recycling on us again in a more drastic manner. Again, we're not going to share what he said, how long it was, but if you want to look it up, you look it up. I'm kind of conflicted on how to manage this as a fan or as media, because it's good to bring awareness. So what we want to mostly do is bring awareness. But for my part, and I'm not telling you not to do something, I'm a little concerned with how many fans go on and they're trying to encourage him, because sometimes Behavior is communicative, as we used to teach. And when someone starts going on about something, they mean it. And what they're feeling and thinking, it's their reality. And so the problem that I'm worried about is the more people comment and encourage him and let him know and make him feel good, the more often. We see this on Facebook. We see it with people who share their struggles and everyone wants to encourage them. Sometimes that's not always the wisest thing to do. I'm not saying all the time. So yeah, but you know what? In the end, that's why invest. If you know people around you, obviously you don't know him, so just don't beat down on him. That's the only thing that we would ask. Don't beat down on the guy. If you don't want to say anything, then just don't say anything. And don't make it and kind of put the blame on him. It's no different than you being really ill and being really sick physically, where we could see the sickness. And it's something that affects him, and he's going through a really tough time. So, yes, absolutely.
We wish him all the best. Now, there's no easier way to transition, but here is Around the Rink.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
It's brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
Awesome. So why don't we have a whole bunch of things to cover. So first, let's cover a little, because we're kind of transitioning over before we get to the junior and all that kind of stuff. Can we just touch in quickly on the PWHL?
Sure.
We mentioned it the other week, and we were talking about they're having too many channels. We understand that's not going to help the game. We really feel like this was a good chance if they just stayed the norm as last year somehow. They probably couldn't, and that's why they made the adjustments. But here's one error that's happened with Boston. So the Boston Fleet, what's happened is their arena has been mentioned. They only had 2,800 plus their last game. Now, the crazy part here is I could be saying it wrong, and maybe Ray knows the arena from the area, but it's outside of Boston, and it's called the Tosongas Arena, and it's like over an hour and a half to get there. It's a great arena to sit in, watch hockey is what I hear, but I'm not familiar with how far it is, other than someone posted a GPS from the center of Boston all the way out to the arena, and it was still going to take them about an hour to get there. Bad choice of arena, and this is on management. Whoever put and again, I don't know this, Pawel. I haven't looked into it, because one thing, I guess, also availability. We've been trying to promote the PWHL for a long time, or before them, all women's hockey, maybe a WNHL or things like that. And I am a little frustrated. And if you're out there and you know contacts, please let them come. We want to promote the PWHL, but we don't get a lot of contact. We get NHL contacting us. We get every other league around the world. But one I can't get through to is the PWHL and actually connect with the players or anyone. It's like tight-lipped, as if they're too good to talk to anybody except for their – I know that's not true. It's what it feels like. And so I'm a little frustrated because we want to support it. And I'd like to kind of know, maybe there's a reason. And I think it'd be good. So when fans complain, folks like us can say, okay, we understand why not. So I'm going to continue to dig a little bit more. I have heard, I don't know if he's watching, you probably not, but I am going to be reaching out in the new year. So I just found out this week, this last weekend, that it sounds like Howie Draper is back with the University of Alberta, their hockey program. I talked to someone. So I'm going to try and reach out, Pawel and I, and then maybe he'll be able to make a connection for us so we can get in there a little bit more. And if you're not familiar, he's one of our former guests with the Pandas. He is one of our former guests. You can go find all his information. And he was formerly the inaugural coach of the New York PWHL club. So, but anyway, yeah. So I'm kind of weird, eh? Why would they do that?
I could not explain it to you. We love all things hockey, including the PWHL, which we promoted last year quite a bit.
Yeah.
We would love to have players, coaches, whoever is involved in the game on the show, sharing, broadcasting, getting the message out, promoting the game.
And we'll continue.
That's what we want. We think the game of hockey should be shared all around the world with everyone, and this is just one more way of doing that, and creating a more inclusive group. So that's just
okay. So let's talk about a couple things around expansion. So you had brought up a few weeks back, we were talking about the CHL and the potential of looking at expansion. So a little further in now, the OHL are looking at expanding, likely from other leagues. Now get this, the United States Hockey League, which is governed by Hockey USA. Now, there is potential right now that at least two USHL teams could leave and join the CHL in the Ontario Hockey League. Now, you're talking about taking and robbing from other places now. This could get a little bit more violent. The USHL wasn't worried like the BCHL when the people started leaving. But I think I would. And I'm a little frustrated around this. We'll talk. I'm going to write some articles during my break time around this, because I kind of feel like players, when you're in a contract, you shouldn't be able to leave mid-season. You sign to that team unless there's a player transaction fee that goes out to buy that player's rights. If someone wants to sign you, you should be able to get something from it because of all your investments. So all those guys that left the BCHL, that was an investment by all those guys. Yeah. Luckily, the Vancouver Island Junior Hockey League, where we talked to Luke Gravel, players from his team and many others have been stepping up and getting opportunities. So it's become a feeder type league on top of other areas. So that's great. The other thing, just a heads up. So another, like the BCHL, it's called the North American Hockey League, the NAHL. There's been heavy discussion on more potential expansion for 2026-27. They would start 6 potential teams joining their league. Now, remember, they're non-sanctioned. Also, Hockey USA doesn't like that no more than Hockey Canada doesn't, but the rules are different. And essentially, this would mean that they'd start a new Western division, and there could be teams coming into California and into Vegas and Arizona. So I'm guessing probably 2 out of California, 1 in Vegas and 1 in Arizona. So if you are a fan of the NAWHL, and by the way, you can, if you want to watch all these teams, you're like, how do people know this stuff? Where are they following? Go to Flow Sports. Flow Sports, you can actually get all that information. So anyway, it's a lot of stuff going on around the other leagues. So make sure that you pay attention around that. So that's pretty much it I got, unless you got something else for Around the Rink.
Nope, that is it on my end. I don't think there's anything really that stands out, but we'll do it. We'll do our best to bring you all different things around.
If you're a fan of hard-hitting, exciting hockey, catch the Kalkaska Battlers.
Around the Rink
is brought to you by the Kalkaska Battlers. Let them be your local hockey heroes.
Well, we're getting into the final moments of our show. We've got a little bit left. I just wanted to kind of talk about a few little things. I know you had a few things yourself.
I do need, because we're going into the Christmas break, I do need to take about 3 to 5. So make sure at some point, maybe instead of hockey history today, we'll end with the Revs top 15. And I'll talk about a couple of the players in the World Juniors coming up and some ones that did not make it. So let's pretty short stuff, and then we'll do it.
No, I was just going to say there's just been a few movements in the NHL with Anthony Stolarz being out with a pebble found in his knee. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks with some surgery. We wish him all the best, a speedy recovery. We're getting into the Christmas holidays where there's going to be a bit of a break. The NHL has been really fun. We're getting into the 1/3 of the season. Lots has been happening, and we're going to continue to follow all the storylines happening, because I'm sure it's going to be a very busy 2025. But let's get to the Revs top 15.
Revs top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
Well, buddy, Merry Christmas to everyone. I'm excited, and you know why I'm excited? Because this time of year, we have the World Junior Championships on Boxing Day. So this Santa is going to be doing some boxing, some hockey, watching. I'm going to be getting my binoculars out. Actually, I'm not taking them out because I'm going to look on my 85-inch screen TV. But, guys, we had a weird omission. Interesting enough, I am now starting to notice. You remember this, Pavel? I was giving the rankings, and we were talking about Michael Misa, who I've had ranked number 2. And I feel like people have been missing something here. And all the scouts and all the rankings have been showing like maybe more at 3 or 4. James has not changed anything. He's now going to be playing for USA. Porter Martone has been now on Hockey Canada. But Michael Misa was not even brought on. Yet Michael Misa is hand in hand with Gavin McKenna right there for points, leading the league. He's scoring as many goals as the many games. No one's done this since John Tavares. That is absolutely insane if you think about this. So I'm just going to give you a couple numbers right now on Michael Misa, folks. So Michael Misa, now, right now, in his last 10 games, 22 points. In his last 5 games, he's got 13 points. This guy is right now been scoring at a 2.1 points per game. So this season alone, 29 games, 61 points. 61. So if you figure that out, how many is that? Guys, he's getting more than 2 points a game, and he's already 29 games into the season. And what happened when he got left off? He just went out and scored 4 points. That's all. Like, Michael Misa is like a man on fire. And right now, I just saw someone that's out there. I'm not going to use names yet until the new year. And I told you I will not change my rankings till we come through the World Juniors. So I wanted to see what's happening. I want to see what James Higgins can perform at, what Porter Martone, and also Matthew Schaefer, who I have ranked at number 4 as the top defenseman. But they left Misa out. No idea why. This would have been an exceptional year. And even this, Gavin McKenna, when they brought another player in, you know what they did with McKenna? They said he's going to be the 13th forward. Why take a 16-year-old kid and put him as the 13th forward? He's just turning 17. I get it. But why would you do that? It doesn't even make sense. This guy's leading the entire Canadian Hockey League. Keep him in your top 6 or send him back. Do not have him play sitting as a 13th forward or playing a 4th line. That does not help his development at all. It's ridiculous. And can I just say, I'm not big on the coach, and I'm not big on some of the people who selected this team. There's too many players that got left off. Like Zane Parrott, I get it. You guys are like, you can't have too many points, but you look at who's there. They left off some beauties in there. So anyway, I'm a little disappointed, but that's just the way Hockey Canada is. And regardless, the team is stacked. It's loaded. USA has some incredible players. Sweden's got some good guys coming in. Eklund's going to be playing, who I now am putting into my 6th. But I would like to say number 5, the ranking, we're hoping to get him back. Roger McQueen out of Brandon Wheat Kings. He only got only a handful of games, and so he is about 6 weeks out. He should be back early February. He'll only have 20 games to play. He's been dealing with a lower body injury. I
was surprised Eklund got left off the 4 Nations, given how the season he's having, and I know he couldn't make William Eklund of San Jose. I'm wondering if what's it called? No, not him. That's not the guy.
No. I'm laughing because you're talking about 4 Nations and we're talking junior hockey.
I'm asking because of how well he's played that he wouldn't play maybe potentially in the Olympics as well. So this kid has a potential to play a lot of big tournaments in the coming year. That's all I was implying.
It was just my top 15 segment. That's all. And we're talking about
just adding a comment. I am sorry for taking away.
Oh, good, man. Oh, good. So, anyway, it's going to be a great Christmas. Make sure you guys watch all the junior hockey going on. It's some of the best hockey, I think, in the world every year, no matter who wins, Canada or not, guys. I am excited to see Sweden this year. They do have some really good players that you guys haven't heard a lot of, and I think you're going to be excited to watch them. So definitely check out the World Juniors any chance that you get this winter starting Boxing Day.
World's Top 15.
Brought to you by the electronic hard rock band Penny Billionaires. Look for them wherever you find your music.
Now, we've been getting to the end of the show. We've been going overtime. As you guys know, we've called ourselves 2 Guys in Overtime for quite a bit. May need to look at trademarking that name, but we've been doing quite well. And I know last year and the year before we did this, and Evan did not plan for this at all, but I'm just going to throw this out there before we finish the show up and wrap up everything. We do a Christmas list every year for Santa for all teams. Now, we can't go through all 32 teams. I get it. So what you and I, Evan, are going to say is 2 things we want to see in the 2025 season whether it's a team, whether it's a player, whether it's a coach, whether it's a different league beyond the NHL, what do you wish for from Santa Claus yourself in 2025 in the world of hockey? Would you like me to go first? I will say it again as I've been saying it for the many times. My first one is I want to see a Canadian team lift the Stanley Cup. I really do. I want to see it. I have yet to see it. Let the drought end. I think that it needs to change. I also want to finally see refs have a post-game interview because it's been chaotic and it gets the fans riled up when we don't know, as we talked about San Jose and Utah, what are the calls? But these are two things I want to see. I also want to see the kids. I mean, I'm cheating a little. I'm giving you three. I want to see the kids with this whole debacle with the NCAA OCHL. I want the kids to be able to thrive and have an opportunity to play the best game in the world without it impacting the choices they're going to make in their lives and their careers, whatever that may be, and that this gets figured out and that it doesn't impact the kids negatively playing the game of hockey. Those are my three wishes for Santa Claus. Hopefully you can make them come true. What do you wish for?
Okay. So the nerd in me, the prospects nerd, I want to see 16-year-old Gavin McKenna play on the top line and lead the tournament in points for the first time ever at the youngest age. So it starts a controversy. Is he generational, or is he just going to be a superstar like Bedard? Because some people are questioning, is Bedard actually generational, or is he just like a Jack Eichel? And can I just say, by the way, right now, Bedard, for those that are doubting, he started his first part of his games right now. He's been better than Matthews, better than Hughes, better than Heischer. Can I go on? Guys, he has been an incredibly good player, even though to you and I, he hasn't performed. So that's one. Number two, I want to see Jay Woodcroft get back into the NHL and coach. I love his coaching. I feel he got ripped. I think if he could have stayed, they still would have turned it around. I really believe that, and I think Knobloch just took over what he had and continued. Knobloch doesn't have anything trickier out there. It's just that he plays a basic game, but he makes some good calls. And then the third thing that I think that I would like to see is that I would like to actually see at the end of the season start salary capping the playoffs. So this would be the last year, and then going into next season, you cannot go into the playoffs without keeping within your salary cap anymore with long-term injury reserve. And that's what I'm asking from Santa and two guys in Hockey Talk.
Well, we appreciate that. That's been a great, great selection. So we thank you, everyone. Again, we've gone a little bit over time, but it's been a joy. It's been a heck of a season. Not only this season, season 6, but also this full year. We have been here through thick and thin every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We are always bringing you the latest, the greatest, and the most informative news. We have some great interviewees that we bring onto the show. Remember, guys, these guys come on because they love chatting hockey, talking all things hockey, and because you guys listen and tune in. It isn't just me and Evan here. It's you guys who make this show, and you make it rockin', sockin', and you make it a jam. And Evan, I think we wish everyone, whatever holiday they're celebrating, to enjoy it with their family, with their friends, and that you get a chance to relax, watch a little bit of hockey, whatever tournament and in whatever capacity that is, and that you enjoy the Christmas season, the New Year season, and we will be back in the new year with more content, more interviews, more fantastic guests, and more gems that come out of the show. You wait. But Evan, any final?
2024 has been a fabulous year. I want to thank you guys for your support. And as we go into the new year for the last part of our season and going right up to July free agency, we can promise you we will be here. We will give you our absolute best. But all we ask from you, continue to engage, continue to do what you do, continue to spread the news, and continue to share and follow and help us so we can help you. Well, 2024 has been a ring-a-ding-dong dandy. But in the meantime, and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice, everyone. Stay safe. Happy holidays. Enjoy. We'll miss you. Cheers.